Good morning, everyone. Let us start our meditation session by taking 3 deep breaths to arrive on our meditation cushion, to arrive on our chair, to arrive in front of our device for this session. So we can inhale and exhale 3 times deeply. And every time we inhale, we try to refresh our attention. Every time we exhale, we try to completely relax. Now let us take a look at our posture for this meditation session. So ideally we sit on the floor. It's not entirely required. If you are sitting on the chair, that's perfectly fine. If you're sitting on the chair, just make sure you're not leaning against the support of the chair and not leaning forward either. If you're sitting on the floor, the ideal would be to sit in full lotus posture. So that means you have your feet on top of the other leg, but make sure you're not pushing your body. If sitting in full lotus posture is not comfortable, you can simply sit cross-legged or in half lotus or even in Burmese style with one leg in front of the other. The hands are in the concentration or meditation mudra, so you have your right hand on top of the left. The two thumbs are slightly touching, and this rests on your lap. The back is straight, the body is upright, the shoulders are even and relaxed, the neck is aligned in the continuation of the spine. You can very slightly tilt your head forward, but not too much. You can place your tongue towards your upper palate, just behind your upper teeth. This helps to reduce the production of saliva while you meditate. And finally, the eyes are not completely closed. We leave them slightly opened, gazing 1 or 2 meters in front of you, 45 degrees cast down. But we are not actually paying attention to what our eyes are seeing. It is the mental consciousness that meditates. Out of these 7 points, this posture is known as the 7 points Buddha Vairochana posture. The most important is for your body to be upright, for your back to be straight. Now that we have looked at our body posture, let us look at our mind, especially our motivation for doing this session. Let us try to generate a Mahayana motivation of Bodhicitta, the mind of awakening. So to do that, we will shortly meditate on the Sevenfold cause and effect method to generate Bodhicitta. The primary step is to generate a sense of equanimity towards all sentient beings. So for that, we can visualize around us, on our right side, our father, on our left side, our mother, and next to them, next to your father, all your male family members, next to your mother, all your female family members, and all your friends, male and female friends. In the space in front of you, you can try to visualize the people who make you agitated, the people you have conflicts with, or the people you consider as not good people, so-called enemies. If you don't have enemies in your life, you can also think of, for example, world leaders who are creating conflict, world leaders who are causing wars and so forth. You can try to visualize them as the people you don't like. And then all around, try to visualize all the people you don't know, all the so-called strangers. And now let us contemplate, why are we categorizing beings as friends, enemies, and strangers? Actually, if we look carefully, all of them, regardless of their relationship with us, regardless of how we consider them, all of them have the same innate motivation, the same innate intention. They want to be happy and they don't want to experience suffering. So all the actions they do, all the things they say, is motivated by the same intention, wanting to be happy, wanting to avoid suffering. You can also recognize that we have been circling in samsara since time immemorial, since beginningless time. We have been taking rebirth again and again and again in all the different states of rebirth. And in all those lives, those people that we categorize as friends, enemies, strangers, in all these lives they had different roles. Our friends and the family of this life, maybe in the past lives, were sometimes our enemies, or most likely they were complete strangers. And the enemies, the people we categorize as enemies in this life, maybe they were our near and dear ones in past lives. Since we had countless past lives, all the possibilities are there. So therefore try to contemplate how the people you consider as enemy or stranger, in past lives they must, mathematically, they must have benefited you. They must have been near and dear to you. And the people you consider in this life as friends, in past lives necessarily they must have created problems for you. They must have hurt you. And so because of that, and because they have, all of them have the same intention, wanting to be happy and wanting to avoid suffering, it is not very logical from our side to label them in different categories as friends, enemies, and strangers. So try to generate a sense of equanimity, a sense of impartiality towards all beings. Then the next step is to recognize that all sentient beings, at one point or the other, have been our own mother. Since we had beginningless lives, since we have been reborn countless times in the past, it is only logical, mathematical to think that at one point or the other, all sentient beings have been our mother. And the next step is to recognize, to remember the kindness of the mother. So I'm using the word mother, but if in this life you had difficulties with your mother, or if your mother didn't raise you, if somebody else raised you, you can just take that person who has been so kind to you as you can take that person, you can bring that person to mind for this meditation. So when we speak of the kindness of the mother or the caregiver, there are different ways to meditate on that. We can try to remember the kindness that has been given to us in this life. So just the kindness of, keeping us in the womb for 9 months and the hardships that go along with that, and the hardships of delivering, the pain, just to give us birth. The kindness of taking care of us when we are totally helpless babies. His Holiness the Dalai Lama often reminds us that a newborn, if he is not shown affection, doesn't have any chance to survive. We need affection when we are totally helpless babies to survive. Then, of course, feeding us, consoling us, changing our diapers, for example. And you can think in many different ways how your mother or your caregiver has been kind to you. Also, when you were a young kid, when you were a teenager or a young adult. You can also think in countless past lives how our mothers have been so kind to us. We can think, for example, in one life or the other, we must have been a bird, for example, a baby bird. And so imagine the kindness of the mother bird just to feed you, because you are not, able to fly out of the nest and find food for yourself. So your kind mother going around and taking some small insects, some small worms in her beak to feed you, and actually engaging in the karma of killing that insect, killing that worm, just so that you can get fed and survive. So imagine the karmic consequence of the mother bird just to feed you. How unbelievably kind. Another example we can think of, you might have seen on National Geographic channel, for example, or other nature channel about wildlife. You can see sometimes how, for example, zebras are attacked by tigers, lions. So in the case a baby zebra or another animal is attacked by a tiger or by a lion, the mother, without any hesitation, will sacrifice her life to try and save the life of the baby. So she would go between the tiger or the lion and the baby, try to push the lion or the tiger back without any second thought to protect the baby. So in this way, try to remember the kindness of all your mothers. The next step then is naturally a rising wish to repay the kindness of our mothers, so to repay the kindness of all sentient beings. So repaying the kindness doesn't mean just, taking care of babies, taking care of young children. We have done that already countless times in the past with all sentient beings. We also have been equally the mother of all sentient beings in the past. But here is to generate a special wish to repay the kindness, in the sense that now we have this precious human rebirth. We are born human with all our physical, mental capacities. And we live in a world where the Buddha has appeared 2500 years ago. The Buddha has given so many teachings, he has showed us the methods to transform our mind. And the teachings are still very much available to this day, especially in this digital era with internet. With just one click, we can listen to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, for example. We can download and read all the sutras, all the teachings of the Buddha. We have the opportunity to study, contemplate, and meditate to transform our mind. Not only that, but there are many followers of the Buddha's teachings who can help us. There are many qualified teachers, there are many practitioners who can accompany us in our journey towards liberation and awakening. And not only that, but there are also many supporters who are helping the practitioners, for example, to sustain all the Dharma centers, all the projects. So with all these conditions, we have the incredible opportunity to transform our mind and to repay the kindness of all the immortal sentient beings up to liberation and awakening. The next step is to see all beings in the light of great affection, trying to see all beings as near and dear. So trying to lose the grip of our classification as friends, enemies, strangers, seeing all sentient beings as equal, remembering they have all been our mothers in previous lives. They have been so kind to us, wishing to repay this kindness up to liberation and enlightenment, and seeing them as so close to us, so near and dear. Because of course, our near and dear ones, we naturally want them to be happy. We naturally want them not to suffer. So this is the next step, great compassion, generating the wish for all beings to have happiness and the causes of happiness, generating the wish for all beings to be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. The causes of suffering being karma and afflictions. All sentient beings, including ourselves. Since time immemorial, we have this self-grasping ignorance. We have this impression that all phenomena, including the self, are so solidly real. We have the impression that everything exists objectively. We have the impression that everything exists intrinsically, inherently, independently, so truly, so solidly out there. Because of this self-grasping ignorance, we have the inappropriate attention. We have this also wrong impression that we are the center of the universe. We naturally feel more important than others. And because of that, all sorts of mental afflictions arise, such as anger, excessive attachment, jealousy, pride, depression, anxiety, and so on and so forth. And because of these afflictions, sentient beings, including ourselves, constantly engage in actions that are non-virtuous, that are negative, such as killing, stealing, lying, and so on and so forth. And because of these, continuously taking rebirth again and again in samsara and experiencing the results of the karmas we accumulate. And even the positive actions we do, such as helping others, practicing generosity, saving lives, and so on and so forth. Even these actions, they ripen in the form of pleasant experiences, but within samsara. They are what we call contaminated virtuous actions because they are done on the basis of this self-grasping ignorance. When we do a good action, We feel ourselves as so solidly existing, the action we are doing so solidly existing, and the recipient of our good action so solidly existing, objectively, inherently existing. So this just creates causes for pleasant experiences within cyclic existence, within samsara. So because of these countless karmas we have accumulated since beginningless time, we continuously take rebirth and experience the results of the actions we have created in the past. Basically, we don't have any control, we don't have any choice. For example, this morning after this meditation, difficult to say what is going to happen. We don't have much choice, we don't have much freedom how our day is going to unfold. All of a sudden, maybe a neighbor will come and ring and complain about something, or maybe a friend will visit you with gifts. It's very difficult to predict, and we don't have control over the experiences that we make. They are just the results of the karmas we have accumulated in the past. So in order to help us to try to generate this great compassion, this wish for all sentient beings to be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, so we can think of these causes of suffering, the karma and afflictions, but we can also contemplate the evident suffering that we can see with our own eyes. We can see around us many people are suffering from poverty. Many people are suffering from acute sickness. We can also think of all the people who are living in countries that are presently at war. We can also try to generate a sense of compassion for animals, those living in the wilderness, constantly living in a fear of being hunted by bigger animals. So try to generate this wish for all sentient beings. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. Then the next step is to generate the altruistic intention, a sense of responsibility. Because at the present I have this precious human life, I have a human body with all physical, mental capacities, and as I was explaining, living at a time in a world where the Buddhas appeared, the Buddha taught, the teachings of the Buddha are still very much available, many practitioners and many supporters, many sponsors. So with all these conditions, I have the incredible opportunity to transform my mind, to liberate myself from the afflictions and karmas. And if we contemplate, it's extremely rare to have such an opportunity. If we contemplate in the other realms, for example, in the animal realm, countless beings we can see with our own eyes. Just on this planet, the number of ants, for example, is infinite. In comparison, we have about, I think, 8 billion human beings on the planet. And among those 8 billions, how many actually have a precious human rebirth? Most of the 8 billion people not interested to look inward, to look at their minds, to look at their condition, not interested to study, so caught up in the running after the pleasures, the temporary pleasures of samsara. So therefore try to generate a sense of responsibility. At the present I have this precious opportunity, so therefore I must do the work of study, contemplation, meditation to transform my mind for the benefit of others. I myself will free all sentient beings from suffering and the causes of suffering. But how can I do that? I myself being trapped in the prison of the mind. I myself being trapped in samsara, in cyclic existence. So I must eliminate the mental veils. I must achieve the state of awakening, the state of a Buddha, in order to guide sentient beings unmistakably. So a Buddha has achieved a state where all the afflictions, karmas, are eliminated, as well as all the cognitive veils, all the mental cognitive obscurations. Once all of these are removed, a Buddha achieves the state of omniscience, full awakening, knowing perfectly the past, present, and future, and the capacities of sentient beings to guide them perfectly, unmistakably. So let us try to generate this most beautiful aspiration, this most beautiful mind of awakening, bodhicitta, by thinking, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all my dear mother sentient beings. And with this motivation in mind, we will engage in shamatha practice this morning, a very short shamatha practice. So I'll quickly remind you of the instructions for shamatha. The first is the body posture that we looked at in the beginning. Remember that the most important of the 7 points of the Buddha Vajrayana posture is for your back to be straight, for your body to be upright. The next instruction is that we need an object to meditate on. We need an object on which to place our attention, to place our concentration, our focus. If you're familiar with shamatha, shamatha is the Sanskrit term for calm abiding in English, or shine in Tibetan. So if you're familiar with this meditation, I would recommend that you keep the object that you're the most familiar with. And if you're a beginner, what I would suggest is to take as an object the breathing sensation at the entrance of the nostrils. As you breathe in and out, you can feel the air at the entrance of the nostrils, a little bit cold when you inhale, a little bit warm when you exhale. Try to place all your focus on that without wavering. The next instruction is that there are two main ways we get distracted during meditation. The first one is called mental excitement. Basically, we are distracted with thoughts, mostly thinking about the past, future. And the second way we get distracted is with mental laxity, mental dullness, or lethargy. Basically, we don't put enough application in our meditation and the mind starts to sink. We kind of fall asleep. So finally, the last instruction is that there are two antidotes to counteract these. The first one is called introspection or alertness. So basically, while your mind is essentially focusing on your object of meditation, in the background, you have a small part of your mind, in technical terms we call it a mental factor, of introspection that is checking, am I meditating? Am I concentrated on my object of meditation? Basically, it's a part of your mind that is checking what your mind is doing. And so if this introspection notices that the mind has wandered, for example, being distracted with thoughts or falling asleep, then we make use of the second antidote, which is called mindfulness. And the role of mindfulness is to bring the mind back onto the object of meditation. It is a little bit like if we have a pet dog at home and the dog runs away, introspection notices that the dog is gone, and mindfulness brings the dog back home and makes sure it stays there. You can imagine tying him against a pillar, for example, so that the dog remains at home. So similarly, we are trying to do that with our mind. We're trying to place all our focus on our object of meditation, aware of what's happening in our mind. If the mind gets distracted, immediately we bring the mind back onto the object of meditation. So we'll do this meditation very shortly because it's already 9:30. So we'll do for about 3 minutes. For 3 minutes, we try to really stay on our object of meditation without wavering. And immediately when we notice that the mind has wandered, we bring the mind back onto the object. We just try for 3 minutes. gently come out of the meditation. So because the time has passed already, I did only 3 minutes. Usually I try to do at least 5 minutes. And actually it is recommended, for beginners to keep our meditations short. And there are two reasons for that. The first one is that if we meditate for, let's say, 1 or 2 hours, then because we are so familiar with letting our minds distracted without applying the antidotes, then we reinforce, our habit of being distracted and not doing anything about it. But if we sit for, let's say, 5 minutes and we decide at the beginning of the session to make this 5 minutes of quality meditation, that we will apply the antidotes, then slowly, slowly, we will train our mind in using the antidotes of introspection and mindfulness. And this is how we can progress in our meditation. The second reason is that if we meditate for, let's say, 1 or 2 hours, at the end we might feel exhausted, we might feel tired, and the next time we see our meditation cushion, then we might not want to sit again. On the other hand, if we sit for 5 minutes, maybe at the end of 5 minutes, or now we just did 3 minutes, maybe when you heard the sound, you felt, oh, I want to meditate more. And this is a very good sign that you will again, make the effort to sit and try to develop your mind. So let us dedicate the merits we have accumulated this morning by meditating on bodhicitta and trying to train in the mental practice of introspection and mindfulness by meditating on shamatha. Let us dedicate these merits so that we may soon, very soon, become perfectly awakened Buddhas in order to guide all sentient beings without leaving none aside. May the precious minds of bodhicitta and the wisdom realizing emptiness that have not been generated in our minds quickly be generated, and may that which has already been generated never decline but increase forevermore. We also dedicate so that our spiritual guides, for example, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, may have very long and healthy lives so that they may continue to teach us the Buddha, the Dharma of Buddha Shakyamuni. We also pray for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who is the founder of Tushita and the whole FPMT, the Foundation for the Preservation of the Mahayana Tradition. Tushita is actually one of the more than 130 centers and projects around the world of the FPMT that Lama Zopa Rinpoche created. So Lama Zopa Rinpoche showed the aspect last year of passing away, and you might know that in the Tibetan culture, it is a tradition to find the reincarnation of such enlightened masters. For example, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is known as the 14th Dalai Lama, the 14th reincarnation of the Dalai Lama. So similarly, we are praying for Rinpoche to come back quickly in order to continue to teach us the Dharma of Buddha Shakyamuni, in order to guide us and lead the organization. Finally, we also dedicate so that all the wars that are happening around the world immediately come to an end. May there be no new wars, may there be no epidemic, may there be no famine, may there be no natural catastrophes, disasters of the elements, and may peace and harmony prevail in everyone's hearts and lives. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we'll see you tomorrow and Friday morning for the meditation at 9 a.m. Online. And on Saturday, we have a special talk with Venerable Tenzin Wurzel Monkey, whom you might know as Professor Kaveri Gill. So she has been giving a series of interactive discussions at Tushita for the last 2.5 weeks. So on Saturday is the concluding session before our summer break, So I invite you to join this on Saturday at 11 a.m. She's very generously sharing her vast knowledge of the Buddha's teachings in a secular way. So please join us on Saturday at 11 a.m., both online and in person at Tushita. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day. Bye bye.